Hello, everyone. This is Jason. Elon Musk really did lose in court. In March 2026, a San Francisco jury ruled that two of his famous tweets from 2022 misled investors and helped send Twitter shares down by nearly 10%. That left shareholders facing heavy losses and opened the door to damages that could reach several $billions. But the same verdict also said there was no evidence that Musk had organized some grand fraud scheme. It did not find his podcast remarks improper either. Even more importantly, he still went ahead and paid the full $44 billion to buy the platform. Now he is still reshaping X with aggressive moves against fake accounts. So was this a costly mistake or just another example of Musk refusing to back down? Do not miss today's breakdown. Let us start with the first story. Musk lost this round in a Twitter acquisition case, and the jury said he misled investors. So let us lay out the facts clearly from the verdict to the bigger picture behind it. On March 20th, 2026, a 9-person federal jury in San Francisco reached its decision in nearly 4 days of deliberation in a 3-week trial. The jury found that Musk's tweets from May 13th and May 17th of 2022 were materially misleading to investors. The first was the now famous temporarily on hold post, where he said he was waiting for more data on fake accounts and whether Twitter's claim of fewer than 5% bots was accurate. Then, on May 17th, Musk added more pressure by saying the deal could not move forward unless he saw proof. The jury concluded that these two tweets helped drive Twitter stock down by almost 10% on those days. From May 13th to October 3rd, during that long period of uncertainty, shareholders who sold their stock may have taken significant losses. But before jumping to conclusions, there is another side to this verdict. The same jury also made 3 important points. First, it did not consider Musk's podcast comments misleading because those were viewed as opinion. Second, it found no evidence that he planned a deliberate scheme to defraud investors. Third, it did not conclude that he intentionally built some broader conspiracy to crush the stock price. The plaintiffs in this class action were shareholders who sold Twitter stock during that period. They estimated damages could range from roughly $2.1 billion to $0.6 billion, and the jury suggested a damages framework of about $3 to $8 per share per day. Musk's legal team did not say much in the courtroom, but they made it clear they would appeal aggressively. In other words, this fight is far from over. When Musk testified, he was blunt. He said Twitter's fake account data was, in his words, nonsense. He argued that Twitter executives hid the real calculation method and that the bot problem was far worse than the company claimed. He repeated in court that this was not a casual complaint. It was something he genuinely believed. And in the end, Musk still completed the deal at the original price of $44 billion. Former Twitter shareholders were paid $54.20 per share, which turned out to be a very strong price for them. That is very different from the script where a buyer talks down the asset and then walks away. Coverage from major outlets framed the heart of the case this way. Did Musk's public attack on the bot numbers amount to a deliberate effort to force a lower price, or was he expressing a real concern about the business? The plaintiff said his posts shook the market and caused real losses. Musk's side said he still paid full price and that today's X continues pushing hard to remove fake accounts, which supports the idea that his concern was not imagined. The jury refused to label the entire episode as a grand fraud and instead focused only on those 2 tweets. That makes this case very different from the 2018 lawsuit where Musk was fully cleared by a jury. So yes, he lost this round, but the legal battle is not finished. His lawyers are already preparing the appeal. What we saw back then was Musk dealing with Tesla stock pressure, financing stress, and huge public scrutiny. Yet, he still went through with the Twitter purchase and kept pushing forward on free speech, platform reform, and artificial intelligence. That tells you something important about how he operates. He is willing to fight, willing to be criticized, and determined to force the outcome he wants. As for Tesla, this case does not seem likely to change the company's core story very much. Investors understand that this is mainly an X-related legal dispute, not a judgment on Tesla's electric vehicle business. Musk's wealth is still overwhelmingly tied to Tesla, and even though the potential damages sound massive, they may not materially change the broader picture around his empire. So yes, Musk losing in court is a real headline, but the appeal is coming, X is still moving forward, and the bigger story is still unfolding. We will keep watching where this goes next. Now let us move on to more recent Tesla-related developments because there are some interesting updates in production, energy, and global expansion. Have you ever noticed something strange at home? Maybe you already upgraded everything to the latest mesh Wi-Fi system. Maybe you are using Eero, Google Nest, or Ubiquiti with full WPA3 security enabled across the house. Yet your Tesla wall connector still drops offline over and over again. Charging data stops showing up. App notifications go silent. Firmware updates never arrive. Well, Tesla has finally addressed one of the most annoying problems owners have been dealing with for years. In the 26.2.0 update, the company appears to have fixed the WPA3 compatibility issue that frustrated Gen 3 wall connector users for nearly a 16.3 wall connector users for nearly 6 years. And for many owners, this is a real quality of life improvement. The Gen 3 wall connector launched in January 2020 with built-in Wi-Fi and over-the-air updates. At the time, many people thought home charging had finally become truly smart. But starting in early 2021, owners began noticing a major problem. If the router used pure WPA3 mode, or even a mixed WPA2 and WPA3 mode, the charger often could not stay connected. In some cases, it would not connect at all. In others, it would drop out quickly after joining the network. The issue seemed especially painful on mesh systems like Eero, Ubiquiti, and Google Nest. Some owners reported disconnects within an hour, and many ended up creating a separate 2.4 GHz guest network using only WPA2 personal security just to keep the charger online. This was not a minor inconvenience. For thousands of Tesla owners, it became an everyday irritation. For years, people had access in theory to live charging status, remote control, scheduling, and software updates. But unstable Wi-Fi made those features unreliable. Some owners spent day after day posting on Tesla forums saying the situation was deeply frustrating. The good news is that since mid-February this year, Tesla has been broadly rolling out firmware version 26.2.0, and owners say it directly fixes the handshake problem that used to break WPA3 connectivity. Reports from the field suggest the wall connector can now negotiate WPA3 connectivity. WPA3 much more reliably. Instead, the situation was deeply frustrating. The good news is that since mid-February this year, owners are now Eero is stable again, Google Nest is stable again, and Ubiquiti is working far more smoothly as well. Charging data in the app is updating in real time, and future firmware releases should no longer get stuck because of a weak wireless link. These updates are delivered automatically and quietly, usually overnight. There is no manual force update button, so the main thing is simply to wait for the charger to receive it. Many users now believe this is a permanent fix. That matters because Tesla is showing that it still cares about older hardware. The Gen 3 wall connector has been on the market for more than 6 years, and Tesla recently even introduced a new 6-foot pedestal accessory for it, which suggests the company is not abandoning existing owners. Now that WPA3 support appears stable, people no longer have to weaken their whole home network just to keep a charger connected. That may sound small, but it is actually important. It makes Tesla's broader home energy ecosystem more complete and more practical. And from there, let us shift to India, where Tesla seems to be setting up a much bigger move in energy. I recently saw Tesla's latest activity in India, and honestly, it is exciting. Tesla only formally entered the Indian car market in 2025, and now it looks like the company may be preparing a much larger energy push. The question is whether this is just another tactical move by Musk or the beginning of a serious long-term strategy that could reshape how India handles grid-scale storage. According to posts shared by Tesla Club India on X, Tesla is now hiring a full-time business development lead in India for its energy, solar, and storage division. This is not a routine sales role. The global business development team is described as a small and highly focused group responsible for analyzing markets, shaping new business models, and helping execute industrial energy strategy. The key mission is to build Tesla's pathway into India's utility-scale energy storage market. The ideal candidate needs to understand both policy and business, know the Indian market deeply, and have a strong record in the renewable energy sector. That tells us Tesla is not casually testing the waters. It is looking for someone who can actually open the market and help bring Megapack into India at scale. Why now? Because India's energy storage market is suddenly moving very fast. Since early 2025, India has issued tenders covering nearly 100 gigawatt-hours of storage. The country is aiming for 500 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel capacity by 2030. And by the end of 2025, it had already passed 262 gigawatts. To make that target work, large-scale storage is essential. Solar and wind can overproduce during the day, but the grid still needs support at night and during demand spikes. That is exactly where Megapack is designed to fit. It helps utilities stabilize the grid, integrate more renewable power, and reduce emissions. But behind that opportunity is fierce competition, and the pressure in India is already intense. Major local players like Reliance and the Adani Group are investing heavily in energy storage and often bid at extremely aggressive prices. Adani has outlined plans to reach 50 gigawatt-hours of capacity within 5 years, and one of its early projects is expected to go live around March 2026. These low bids may speed up deployment, but they also raise questions about long-term project economics. Storage projects require enormous upfront investment, and when companies push margins too low just to win contracts, the risk does not disappear. It simply gets buried inside the project. This is where Tesla may have a real edge. Tesla Energy has already become a major business globally, and in 2025, Megapack deployment hit record levels while helping multiple grids improve stability and renewable integration. Megapack is not just a hardware story either. Tesla also has Autobidder software, which allows intelligent dispatch and market participation. That means Tesla is not competing on price alone. The hiring language also emphasizes policy advocacy and market intelligence, which lines up with India's fiscal incentives and national energy storage roadmap. So this looks less like a random expansion and more like a strategic entry built on technology, software, policy awareness, and patience. What makes it even more interesting is that Tesla only began selling cars in India in 2025, and now it is also hiring for artificial intelligence and high-performance computing-related roles there. That suggests the company's ambitions in India are much broader than vehicles alone. When Musk sees a trend, he tends to commit hard and move fast. What do you think about Tesla's push into India's energy market? Is this the start of something major or just an exploratory step before a much bigger commitment later? Let me know in the comments. And before we wrap up, let us end with Musk's broader vision. Musk has said many times that ambition without hardware is meaningless. If humanity wants to evolve from a messy single-planet civilization into a true multi-planet species, then we have to stop thinking in grams and start thinking in millions of tons. In his view, the leap from Starship version 3 to version 4 is not just another engineering update. It represents a fundamental change in our ability to live and operate in space at scale. Musk says Starship version 3 could expand payload to orbit to around 200 tons, and SpaceX already knows how to manage heat for thousands of satellites in space. Whether you agree with his pace or his style, the pattern is clear. He thinks in infrastructure, in systems, and in scale that most people never even tried to imagine. That is why every legal fight, every product update, every energy hire, and every space milestone tends to connect back to the same larger mission. Thanks for spending your valuable time with me today. I hope you found this breakdown useful. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. If you want more updates in these areas, please like and subscribe. This is Jason, and I will see you in the next video.